Welcome to it, guys. It is Friday, and we're giving it a little bit of a Flashback Friday vibe because Dawad Philip, playwright and producer, is here with us, telling us all about how Lord Blakey is in Brooklyn in one way or the other. And joining him in the discussion is the lead actor, Mr. Kurtis Cross, on the Now Morning Show. Kurtis, I know you're here all the time, so I give you a whole new name. Morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Morning.
Pleasure. Good morning.
An absolute delight, not just because Kurtis' voice is always warm and encompassing, but also because you have the honor of playing the role of Lord Blakey in this one, and I imagine that was some grand honor. But you tell me in your own words.
Well, I must say it's a pleasure, and not just an honor, because when I came into contact with Lord Blakey, that was at Sour, right? And we had this thing that we would do every time we see each other. If he see me first, he would call Blade, and I would say swish. Or if I see him first, I'd say Blade, and he would say swish, and we'd start to laugh.
Nice.
Right, and from there we had just a little banter. We would, on passing Sour, he would hang out by the agricultural home store. That was his spot that he would lean on the gate just looking out. You know, and that is where we met, because I lived on the old road and coming down through the crazy.
Special relationships indeed.
Well,
now, you have a special relationship, or at least it started in a special way.
Well, yeah.
So walk me through how we got from that to, of course, honoring him
To
this time
Blakey. Well, you know, the thing about calypso is it's a calypso thing, and therefore as a poet and as a writer, it's also a poetry thing. So that, you know, the metaphors and the imagery of calypso influences the whole society in ways that we don't even begin to think about. But as a child, I'm seeing myself in the veranda at my grandmother, hearing this thing on the radio about invaders meeting Street coming up Park Street and Tokyo meeting coming down very slow. And when the two bands clash, Mama, you if you see Cutlass. As a child, that image, I didn't want to go out for carnival. Well, my grandmother said, we go. I said, be sure? But I was holding on to her skirt for life. But the power of calypso to tell these stories, you know? And so, on a personal level, Blakey, having lived in New York for a huge chunk of my life, Blakey was the one voice. I started to come back to doing promotions and that kind of thing, and Blakey was the one singer. Everybody say, when are you going to bring Blakey? When are you going to bring Blakey? And when I found out Blakey couldn't come, everybody else was coming, Pretender, Bomber, all the vintage singers. And this is in the midst of the whole soca heights.
Right.
But vintage showed and proved, like good wine, you know, that vintage has a place, you know, within our own space. So Blakey was the one challenge, and therefore I set out to get Blakey to America. This is the story.
Now, it's quite an interesting story that I think oftentimes we don't tell the complete story of our icons. And in that case, you may have had challenges of acquiring the information, I imagine, and even supporting things to add to the play. Visuals are often very difficult. Talk me through the process of acquiring that history to be able to pack it into a play.
Well, again, it comes back to calypso and calypso stories. I had the good fortune of always spending a life around calypsonians. For some reason, I gravitate to calypso in that way. So I would get the stories from them firsthand. I'm always lucky to have somebody in my car, whether it's Pretender or Bomber or, you know. And so I would hear these stories of old. So I became almost like a fascinated child in a candy store. All these stories in my head from first-person stories, you know, and I can tell you those things. But Blakey, once I set out to do Blakey, I realized that this is not like bringing any other artist. And that's the thing that this story underscores. sometimes artists are just humans like the rest of us. And in their own way, because of their status, you would think they would have an easy road. But nothing could be further from the truth. And the Blakey story is one of those, that he was able to triumph and keep a sense of humor. Kurtis and I were talking, just talking character. So I'm telling Kurtis, well, when you think of Blakey, what do you get from that in terms of creating his performance, And I'm finding out that he sees the same things that Blakey himself would have confessed to me. One morning in Brooklyn, Blakey didn't get his breakfast by about 8 o'clock, and he called me and said, "Put me on a plane, send me home."
Well, I imagine those things have to contribute to the authenticity.
And I'm not with Blakey. So I said, "Okay, Blakey, come and jump out the house, jump in the car to get Blakey to carry him and make sure he gets something to eat." But but the reward you get back from that, the things that and so Tony Hall was one of the people who had done a documentary on me and my poetry, especially A Mural by the Sea. And I told Tony, I said, "Tony, I want to do this Blakey play." And Tony says, "Come on, when are you going to do it, man? Come, let's put it in
Make it happen."
And I started it then, but I was also, at that time, commissioned by the city of San Fernando to write the book Idema, which is the history of the San Fernando Carnival.
Right.
So I was doing that.
Then.
Right, and I'm doing the play on the other side. And I'm still doing my mass, because mass is at the center of my, energy. So by the time I finished Idema, I would have taken the play back up and started to work with it, but unfortunately, by then Tony passed.
So a labor of love,
Yeah, and then so in a way, it's a huge tribute and thank you to Tony Hall, because he pushed me on all kinds of levels, Tony Hall two old grey-haired dogs, running through my life, with that kind of thing.
But Kurtis, granted then that there is all of this history, all of these first-hand accounts and all of these experiences, a real person that we have seen and experienced ourselves, did you feel challenged particularly playing that role, seeing that we actually have the person to compare to?
Yes. All right. First to begin, I'm bigger. All right. Not only that, the iconic level of Blakey, he's a giant. Okay. And to actually, what fascinates me a lot is the warlord himself. The stories that you've heard secondhand, and sometimes from those right next to him, or sometimes he might say something around you. Because when he was with Maljo, right, he and he and Power, they were very good friends. So they would hang a lot. And sometimes he would mention something while he's standing there listening sometimes, because he would visit the tent, because Wendell, my brother, is there, right? And he might sometimes mention something or say something, and then in the circle that I work with in the theater, you have some people who had some first-hand experience of either minor running with Blakey and happened to get away. And then there was always the stories of quite a few things, like how he interacted when police came to arrest him when he's in the middle of doing something and tell them, "I'll check you later." And everybody was like, "Okay, Mr. Blakey," and then they go back, And true to form, even while I was having the conversation with Dawad, if he say X is X, right, he's going to do it. Jump high, jump low, he's going to do it, And for me, having to actually look at this, no, you wear the character. Right. Let me put it simple. You wear the character. I look at my size and I say, okay, in stature, normal man would say Blakey was shorter and smaller than I was.
Right.
But when I see the warlord, I had to look up. And now I had to put on that suit.
Right.
And not only that, what makes it a little more intimidating is that a lot of people know him. He was larger than life. So now I'm going to go on stage and become, because I don't play, I become, right? This larger than life person who everybody know, right?
Well, you did it. And you did it very well.
Very impressive.
And you did it
Very
so much
impressive,
so that
yeah.
we are getting ready to see it happen again on September 1st.
September 1st.
Now, tell me a little bit as to how we can, I don't want to say reinvent, but every performance has to be as if it's the first time.
Well, yeah.
So tell me from a producer and playwright's perspective, any changes or any additions that you would have made from, let's say, just from the first initial performances earlier during the carnival season to this one that we're getting ready for in September?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that, because if you thought that you may have seen, if you saw the play during that season, it's a different iteration that we're doing now, because we've had a chance to actually see it manifest and to find ways to enhance even the band. We have involved the band in a bigger way. We've created more dancers. We've done, the kinds of things that makes for it. Because when I look at the play, I think that the play has potential for an international kind of thing. So that we having an interest in London and we have an interest in New York. We're trying to see what level that thing is going to go. So, but before I go further, I want to remind folks that Penelope Spencer plays Queenie to Kurtis's Blakely. And what made me decide on Kurtis is his laughter. Nobody could laugh like Blakely as Kurtis.
Kurtis, you know, give him a little sample of that. Because the thing is, it was such an iconic part of the character himself.
That's it.
So this was something that you'd been practicing before, or this is just...
Actually, it just so happened that I naturally laugh like this, and it just so happened that Blakey laughs like that too. Well, he did it first,
right?
And it just so happens when Dawad said, "But you laugh like," I was like, "What?" There's a normal laugh, and when you listen, you hear it.
Well, we will hear it when you are on stage, but I wanted to talk a little bit as well about the dynamic between you and Penelope on stage, because, I mean, two massive persons in the theatre world. What was that? How would you describe that exchange? Because I know you guys, as you say, become. Describe that exchange to the viewers.
That symbiotic exchange is, trying to put it simple, but anyway, interacting with Penny, it's not the first time. I've interacted with Penny so many years. We did Tijan and his brothers together. We did Gene Miles' Story. We did a lot of shows together. Okay? And the sharing the relationship, right? I'm being careful in my words saying sharing the relationship on the stage. We feed off each other, and it's so well that if you're not balanced, you'll feel it. Once you connect, you'll feel the balance. And with Penny, Penny gives because she's a giant. Let's face it, she's a tornado. And when Penny decides to up the ante,
you have to rise to the occasion.
Ride that tornado, otherwise you get blown away, right? And what I like is that challenge that Penny is bringing as Queenie, because she's unapologetic, all right, and she's coming at you. Not in a negative way, but that aggression to bring the character bigger, because there's more she's seeing.
Wow.
And being the person that she is, she's going to challenge you to bring your best.
Absolutely.
And that is what that relationship.
A lot of grandeur that is apt. The Warlord does not require any sort of mediocrity, and you have managed to beautifully put that together in what we will see on the 1st of September at Queen's Hall. Now, I like that you alluded to an international audience being a possibility. So maybe that might be more shows. But Kurtis, any more cats you want to let out the bag and let us know? Huh?
Me? No. You will have to ask the producer himself on that. But what I want to say though is what I like about the rehearsal process. Everyone is involved in making sure you do better. from the musical director, sometimes it could be the stage manager, Zion, it could be the production manager, Safa, or sometimes Dawad would sit quietly and you pull his square and he would talk with you sometimes. And then sometimes the actors or Penny might whisper something in the air. And it all boils down to, this product has to be better than the last one.
And the last one was excellent, so let me say congratulations in advance as we are getting ready for September 1st to head to Queen's Hall, which means that you can get tickets at Queen's Hall box office and other locations as well.
I just wanted to, before I get killed, mention that the musical director is Barbara Newton. The play is directed by Dr. Travis Weeks out of UE and St. Lucia. And it's a band of all-star players. We have the dancers. We have Safa, as he mentioned, as production manager, and Zion McNeil, right?
Yes,
as the stage manager.
Not just an incredible cast, but an incredible crew and an incredible experience for you to take in at Queen's Hall on the 1st. So you guys head on over to the box office, and of course look out for even more as Lord Blakey, Sunday with the Warlord, is it? Yes, Sunday with the Warlord is probably going to be coming to a theatre near you. Fingers crossed. September 1st and beyond. And so we say thank you very much to Mr. Kurtis Cross, the lead actor, as well as Dawad Philip, playwright and producer, for joining us here on the Now Morning Show, for preserving our history and for giving us more to look forward to, just like here on the Now Morning Show. So come back after these messages. We're going to entertain you.
If you want to know, I was in Calypso and the big before, but I couldn't speak the language, so I ain't rude. But alone on the way how to beg for food was give me some kid, Bill, ham and Michi, Harap and a Santa Buri.